Hi everyone. I found a scientist here.
Hello, I'm Zack. I didn't know I was a scientist, but welcome. How are you?
Thank you.
Why
we were talking about something science, blah blah blah.
Okay, I like to talk about knowledge.
Really?
If you want to call that science and put it into a discipline, okay. But what's up?
What? Knowledge, science, discipline?
Science just means knowledge. It's the Greek word that means to know. Knowledge. It's been put into a discipline, and that's something we call it. But
okay, fine.
Okay, so science is knowledge. I like to talk about knowledge. So what? You don't?
I didn't get your point. I thought you were disagreeing with science or something like that.
No. I have no problem with science.
Really?
I just have a problem with the word being used as its own discipline when all it means is knowledge.
What I believe is, when science says something, it's true. They try to make it true. Something.
They try to make it true. You've given an interesting definition. Let's start with what the scientific methodology is, or the scientific method is.
Trying to find the truth.
Trying to find the truth?
Or is it so?
I don't think so. I don't think science, because it knows its reality and it knows that humans are imperfect and able and unable to reach an absolute truth by themselves, it doesn't have that claim. It's so by saying that we are always going to learn something, it accepts its deficiencies. In reality, that's what it is. I'm not perfect, and I don't know everything, and I can't know everything. But my knowledge is deficient. And so, that's the basis of science. I have no problem with that. The definition is sound for me.
But what you said just makes the science faulty somehow.
But of course.
But no, science is perfect. It has to be. We bound everything to science.
That's something you might do, but
science cannot be wrong.
Science itself doesn't have that claim.
What?
That it's right. It says that everything is a theory. And then they tried to disprove the theory, to refine the theory, but there's always a critique to find something that's wrong. Not to state
but they just say this is it.
That's a different issue. First, what's the science? You're right, that's where my problem is.
Really?
Exactly. So before we get into that, now we found the problem, the idea that science, it's not trying to find the truth, it's trying to find the faults in its own
what
knowledge.
are you talking about? Trying to find the faults or what? I didn't get it.
For example, somebody comes up with a theory.
Yeah.
The theory of what? Newton says the apple falls, right?
For example.
And they try to find different factors that might affect it than just the relation between the earth and the apple or something else. They're trying to find different factors to prove the previous theory wrong, actually.
Yes, you can say that. Or prove it. If they cannot find any fault in this theory, they assume that it is true unless someone else finds it real proof that it's wrong.
You're making a jump.
Really?
You're confusing the scientific methodology with how they teach science in a classroom. That's where my problem is.
What?
Yes, the science taught in a science book in a class is not following the scientific method.
I give up. Start from scratch. What do you say? What do you say?
You've combined the two things. This is where the issue is. I have no problem with science.
Okay.
I have no problem with saying that everything we know is just a theory, and we need to refine these theories. Refine these theories means change them. Change them means there's a fault in the theory itself.
Okay.
So basically, science is saying we're trying to find the faults in our knowledge. And our knowledge is always faulty, which is the pre-assumption at the very beginning of science, in the scientific method.
Okay.
So to then say, if we can't find anything wrong with it, it's right, breaks the scientific method in the first place, at the very core.
Well, it just goes like this definition. This is true unless I find an error in it.
Which science doesn't have that claim. This is a theory, find an error in it, is what it's saying. It's actually
But they represent it as a truth.
That's the problem.
So that's what you're against with.
That's what I'm against. Otherwise, when it says this is my theory, and it's encouraging another scientist to critique it and find what's wrong with it, that's great. Keep doing it as much as you want.
Okay, you are trying to examine, I'm talking to the scientists, they are trying to examine the relations between things in the universe, and that's fine.
They're trying, no,
unless...
even deeper, they're trying to find the fault in their own knowledge. That's what we have to... Science is just the collection of knowledge of a bunch of men and women.
Okay, so I didn't really get what you're against with.
I'm against the idea saying that this is, like you said, right unless you prove it wrong. That's not science in the first place.
If I say this is right, I'm being a dogma.
Exactly, it's dogma. And that's not the essence of science in the first place. Though that's how they teach science in the classroom today.
What do they say?
They say that this is
True.
the theory of something, something, something. They might use the word theory, but the meaning that they load onto the word theory, it makes it seem as if you can't critique it.
Strange.
It could be right, it could be wrong. That's not that science doesn't worry about that. That's not its point. It could be right, it could be wrong. That's a separate issue. But once it starts pronouncing that this is right unless you prove me wrong, it crossed its limits.
Yeah. Now I got what you mean, and I agree. Thank you, man.
We agree for the first time.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
See you next time.
Thank you very much.